Hey y'all, it's Vanessa Love. Alright, so this is one of those things where I'm just like, it's really tough to talk about stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to get into liability. I don't want to get into something that I'm like, ugh. But I want you to consider some things about wellness professionals, like coaches, wellness coaches, health coaches, that type of thing, and like what your goals are for being a therapist. You know, if that's something that you want to be. And I think one of the advantages, great advantage of um, being a wellness coach or a health coach or a spiritual coach, whichever phrasing you want to use. Um, I mean, there's no regulations. You can use art in that. You can do all sorts of other things, and you could travel internationally. There's nothing. There's no restrictions on this. Like, if you are a therapist and of the many that are like different aspects that are out there, like if you wanted to go traveling, either you have to find an agency that will allow you to do that, or you have to find a way to like get permission in every country that you plan on being in and having your license kind of translate there, and hopefully it does. I think, like either being a health coach is gonna like really really help you to like a lot of people want to travel and not want to worry about money, and if you can do the conversations on the fly, if you can all you need is data and what you call it, and like some sort of like signal, like as long as you have that, you can have your clients and you can be paid and all of that other stuff, and that's important. um, but like yeah, I mean, like there's all these restrictions on like being a therapist and being in another country, and like does it translate, and I mean, luckily once you're licensed for like 5 years, then you can go, you have more maneuverability. I haven't been licensed for 5 years. I know I've been in practice for 6 years, 7 years. I've been in practice for 7 years, but like that, like I was getting my license in that time, and then after like I completed all my hours and completed all my supervision, then I was able to get my license. Oh yeah, there was some like dispute as to whether or not I've actually been to a college. Let me find my license. And let me tell you how to check licenses. Okay. How do you hold this? All right. That way? No. There we go. That way. Okay. This is my license. State of Connecticut, Department of Public Health, my name, my signature, obviously, and when it's valid through. You can go onto the website for the state. Excuse me. And so Department of Public Health in Connecticut, and there's like a little sidebar, and and you can see that it'll say license lookup. If you look up my name, it will say that my license has been active since 2014. I don't know if it says April of 2014 or if it just says 2014, but that's how long I've had my license. And like that, yeah, I mean, that works. What you call it? Yeah, I mean, like you can check on your own, like it depends on your state and which department comes from that state, and just see if they have a way to look up a therapist license. And I know, like, I've been on there before, and I've just been like, like, just I somehow, like, I got onto the list that was just like active licenses. Actually, I think it was just a list of like almost everyone's licenses, and it was like, oh, this is a nurse practitioner, they're still practicing nurse practitioner, they're not practicing, like, you know, I think I even saw like where like other states that people were licensed in. So like, you know, the states know, and like they can like look that up. You can also look this up. Also, the other way to look up a license is through Psychology Today. Psychology Today only allows people who are licensed unless they are a life coach or health coach. So definitely something to look into. So yeah, I haven't had my license for 5 years, so it's not like I can move around yet. Um, let's see, what's the other one? Like, I mean, I'm still concerned about life coaching and health coaches and spiritual coaches and, you know, art spiritual coaches or art soul coaches or whatever, you know, they're calling themselves now, because there is limited protection between both of you. So like, you can't guarantee that you're getting a person who's good for you, which I mean that's true for a therapist too, but at least like therapists are held to standards. Like, let's say that there's, you know, a person who was a therapist lost their license, but now they're a health coach, you know, no regulation against that, you know, and this person could have really terrible boundaries. They could, you know, like, and like they could have bad reviews. They could, you know, like, you might not know what you're getting into, and like, you know, maybe the person's been a health coach for 20 years, but you know, like maybe they know some stuff about psychology, but they're not keeping up with everything. So there's no ethical standard. So like, you could leave yourself open to getting a really crappy deal, or you can like, if you're a wellness professional, you know, like life coach, then like you could accidentally like, you know, open yourself to lawsuits because, you know, like you may be making claims that like other people can't make and that you can't make yourself, you know, like, and not knowing that that's not the way to go. You know, so like I think that there's a lot of people who, like, it's just something to consider. You know, like those are big pros and cons. Like, like big pro, like you can go and move and like, you know, practice anywhere, without any regulation. But big con, you may be sued. And, you know, if you're a person seeing, you know, a client of a, you know, life coach, like you could get a really bad deal. But you could also get a great deal. You know, it's one of those like, you know, those type of things. And, you know, that's really tough to talk about because I'm just like, I don't want you to feel like I am saying this is like the greater, you know, of the two. It's surely the easier of the two, but it doesn't, it's not better, you know, and I'm just like, that's a tough one because I do want to talk about it, but like, I also don't want to open myself up to, you know, like someone being like, oh, well, you told me that I could be this thing. No, I didn't. I, you know, told you the pros and cons and things to consider, it, you know, depending on who you are and what you want. You know, I did get a question about being like working internationally, and it's very tough, you know, like there are organizations, luckily, and it seems like I'm always finding out about more, and I'm just like, how did I not know about these things, you know? But like, I've looked it up. I've been like, you know, licensed therapists, you know, traveling, you know, and like they'll, that usually brings me to physical therapists who will travel, or occupational therapists who will travel. And it's just like, that's not, you know, that's not anything. Yeah. And that's tough. It's not what I can do. Yeah, so I mean, there's those things, but like I've looked into training with the Red Cross. Their platform, like on my computer, just didn't work out, and like it was super stressful to try and figure out how to complete everything that they wanted me to complete. And it took so long, and so I still haven't done all of my trainings because like they've just been so difficult that like, oh my gosh, like if it's working on like I have like, you know, 3 types of like Internet Explorer basically, you know, like or internet providers, whichever thing, like, oh, no, that's not the word I'm looking for, like internet applications, there we go. and like, you know, one's working, one's not working. It doesn't work on this one, but it might work on these two. But it works spotty on this one, but it works okay on this one. It was crazy. I just couldn't. It was too much. So yeah, I mean, like, that's the next step for me, since I do have time for that now. And then let's see. So yeah, there's the Red Cross. I know through Rotary that like, if there is a big disaster and therapists are needed, I can apply for a temporary license in whichever state and like figure out, you know, how to like kind of, you know, network enough that I can be like, hey, I'm a Rotarian. Could I, you know, like, could I get to like, do you know anyone who will host me so that I can do this thing? Cause like, you know, like, some Rotarians can actually do that. So like, you know, that's definitely something that I'm using to my advantage. You know, I mean, I of course love being a Rotarian, but I mean, it's not for everyone. It's definitely, you know, it definitely has its perks and drawbacks depending on where you live. Let's see, what about some of the other things? Yeah, so I mean, those are the things that I think are pretty important, and things to consider, you know. I know someone who actually went from 30 years in like being a therapist to being a life coach. He retired as a therapist, but still wanted to make money. He like paid for the certificate for his life coaching certificate, and like he developed a business on that model, and he's very much, I'm here now and I don't do diagnosis. And I think that that's a good way to like really manage that, you know, just teaching people skills for right now, and not delving into the past and all of this other stuff. But you know, there's plenty of different theories and plenty of different, you know, types of life coaches. So definitely something to look into. All right, well, I hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.